I needed a break. The city was getting to me, and I thought a hike would help. A few weeks ago, I packed my gear and headed to the Blue Ridge Mountains. I was eager to find some peace, and maybe even some inspiration for my writing. I wasn't an expert on the area, but I knew enough to set up camp and enjoy the surroundings. That first night, everything felt normal. Just me, the towering pines, and the sound of leaves rustling in the wind. I built a fire and settled in, feeling a little lighter. But as darkness fell, the atmosphere quickly shifted. I started hearing whispers, but it felt like they were twisting with the wind. My heart raced, but I told myself it was just the wind playing tricks. Deep down, though, I felt something was off. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. As the hours dragged on, I heard something again. Footsteps? I wasn't sure. I took a deep breath and peeked outside my tent. The moonlight cast eerie shadows, but I didn't see anyone. My mind raced, recalling stories I had heard about this place, ghosts, mysteries, and things that go bump in the night. I tried to sleep, but those stories haunted my thoughts. The next day I hit the trails, hoping to clear my mind. Along the way I met some other campers. They shared their own tales of flickering lights and strange sounds. I nodded and smiled, but unease crawled up my spine. Their stories felt real, and my heart raced each time a twig snapped underfoot. I couldn't shake that feeling of being watched. Deeper into the forest I went. Shadows flitted between the trees, but were they real? I felt my shoulders tense. I thought about turning back, but something pulled at me. The legends, they felt too alive to ignore. By the time I set up my second night, I was a bundle of nerves. I tried writing, but the words felt empty. As night settled in, I heard those voices again, clear and urgent this time. My hands shook and my heart pounded. I thought about calling out, but the words wouldn't come. Then out of nowhere, someone stepped into the clearing. I froze. He just stood there watching me. I wanted to ask if he was okay, but I couldn't find my voice. I took a cautious step back, but when I looked again, he was gone. Just shadows slipping into darkness. Maybe I imagined it. I wasn't sure. As I packed up in the morning, something nagged at me. Those encounters left questions in my mind. Had I lost touch with reality, or had I truly brushed against the legends of these mountains? I hiked out, feeling a stone of doubt in my gut. The experience clung to me like a shadow, and I couldn't shake the sense that something was still out there, hidden among the pines. The forest felt different as I continued my trek. Each rustle seemed amplified, every shadow more pronounced. I kept glancing over my shoulder, expecting to see that figure again. Maybe I was losing my mind, but those whispers haunted me. They weren't just figments of my imagination, they had a weight to them. I decided to head to a clearing I recalled from a map I had studied. It was supposed to have stunning views of the mountains, maybe fresh air, and a view would help clear my head. As I walked, I stumbled upon an old trail marker, weathered by time. It read, "Beware the keeper of secrets." The words chilled me. What did it mean? A part of me wanted to turn around, but curiosity propelled me forward. When I reached the clearing, the view was breathtaking. The mountains rolled like waves, stretching into the horizon. I felt a flicker of inspiration, and I pulled out my notebook. Just then, faint murmurs erupted from the trees below. I strained to hear them, my pulse quickening. I could swear they were urging me to come closer. Figures danced at the edge of my vision just beyond the trees. Each time I blinked, they seemed to vanish, as if they were just tricks of the light. I teetered between excitement and fear. What if the stories were true? Suddenly, a strong gust of wind rushed through, sending a cascade of leaves swirling wildly around me. I felt a presence, something palpable in the air. Then I spotted something glittering near the edge of the clearing. A silver locket lay half buried in the dirt, its surface catching the light. I picked it up, curious about its owner. Inside, I found a faded photograph of a woman in vintage clothing. Her eyes seemed to follow me. Goosebumps prickled my skin. Who was she? Why was this here? Just as I was about to examine it further, the whispers grew louder. They morphed into urgent voices pleading for attention. I felt disoriented, lost between the realms of reality and these legends. Adrenaline surged, and I shoved the locket into my pocket. I needed to leave. I turned to head back, but as I moved, the forest warped around me. The trees appeared to twist and bend, blocking my path. Panic gripped me. I wasn't just hearing things anymore, I could feel something closing in. I forced myself to focus. I had to retrace my steps. I ran, but the whispers echoed, darting around me like wild phantoms. Halfway back to the trail, I stumbled upon a small cabin hidden beneath the foliage. It was old, wooden, and looked abandoned, but it drew me in. My curiosity outweighed my fear. I pushed the door open, and it creaked eerily. That's when I saw it. A dusty journal sitting on an old table, pages yellowed and frayed. Eagerly I approached. Maybe it held answers to the questions swirling inside me. I could feel my heartbeat in my ears as I reached for it. Then the door slammed shut behind me. The whispers crescendoed into a deafening roar. I wasn't alone anymore. The journal felt cool against my fingers as I picked it up. The pages crackled, and I could barely see the words through a thick layer of dust. I flipped it open, revealing chaotic handwriting that seemed to spiral dizzyingly across the pages. "Find the keeper," one entry read. "He knows the way." I felt a chill race through me. What keeper? And why would I need to find him? My heart raced, pumping anxiety into my veins. The whispers intensified, wrapping around me like a blanket of shadows seeking to suffocate reason. "Leave," a voice whispered, sounding clearer now, as if it was real enough to grasp. "You shouldn't be here." I looked around the cabin, searching for a source, but the air felt thick, stifling. I could barely swallow. The door was still closed. I slammed my shoulder against it, desperate to escape. But the journal, its words seemed to pull me back in. I read more entries hastily, tales of lost hikers, encounters with mysterious figures, and secrets that the forest guarded fiercely. Each story seemed intertwined, warning of something dark. I grabbed the journal, wanting to take it with me, but then I noticed something odd at the edge of the page. Beneath the writing was a map. A tattered drawing revealed paths that twisted around the mountains, marked with symbols I didn't recognize. One red circle stood out. The heart of the woods, it was labeled. I felt an overwhelming urge to go there, though a voice in my head screamed at me to stay put. Then a loud crash echoed behind me. I spun around to see a shadowy figure standing in the doorway. My breath hitched. It looked almost human, but its features were obscured by the dim light. I could only make out dark eyes, empty and cold. "Who? What are you?" I choked out, my voice barely a whisper. The figure stepped forward, the whispers rising in frantic pitch. "We watch. We protect. You must leave before it's too late." I took a step back, my heart racing. I couldn't handle the pressure of their stares, whether real or imagined. "Let me out," I yelled, my voice cracking. The figure hesitated, glancing towards the journal, then back at me. "Seek the keeper. He will reveal the truth." Suddenly the spell broke. The door rattled, and with one swift motion it flew open. I darted out, barely registering the figure's lingering presence behind me. The whispers rose to a deafening crescendo as I plunged back into the woods, unsure which direction was safe. Branches clawed at my arms as I pushed through the underbrush. The urgency of the figure's warning haunted me. Seek the keeper. Where would I even start? My thoughts scattered as I ran, propelled by fear and a new spark of determination. As I neared the trail, I caught sight of the expansive sky framed by treetops. A flash of silver caught my eye, my locket. I had to know more. But just as I reached for it, a chilling sensation swept over me, and a voice echoed in my mind. You've awakened the forest. Now it wakes you. In that moment, the path before me twisted even further, and all I could do was stand frozen, gripped by uncertainty. I stood there, frozen, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. The forest around me felt alive, as if it were watching, waiting. I glanced down at the locket dangling from my neck, its surface catching the dwindling light. A flicker of hope ignited within me. Perhaps it held some answers. I took a deep breath and moved toward the main trail. Each step felt deliberate, my senses heightened in the eerie silence. As I walked, the whispers began to fade, replaced by the distant sounds of rustling leaves and the faint chirping of birds cautiously returning to their territory. I examined the journal tightly gripped in my hands, its pages fluttering in the breeze. "The keeper," I murmured softly, trying to wrap my head around what that meant. But every time I thought I had a grasp on the situation, the shadows around me deepened, and my heart raced again. Suddenly, the path shifted. An old stone bridge appeared ahead, arching over a shallow stream. I approached cautiously, the water glistening beneath the fading sunlight. There was something unnerving about the way the shadows danced along the stones. I hesitated at the edge, my heart pounding. Then, I noticed movement out of the corner of my eye. A figure emerged from the trees on the other side of the bridge. It was a woman dressed in tattered clothes that seemed to mimic the colors of the forest. She had wild, tangled hair and eyes that shimmered like mist. As she approached, the air thickened with tension. "Are you lost?" she asked, her voice melodic, yet laced with something darker. "I'm looking for someone," I replied, self-doubt creeping in. "I need to find the keeper." Her expression changed. "You seek him? The keeper loves riddles and only reveals himself to those who are worthy." "What do you mean?" I pressed, feeling desperate for any guidance. She stepped closer, a knowing smile playing on her lips. "The heart of the woods is not just a place. It reflects the heart of the seeker. You must face your fear to find clarity." I opened my mouth to respond, but suddenly the ground felt unstable beneath me. The shadows around the bridge shifted violently, pulling darkness that seemed to reach for my feet. My instincts screamed at me to run, but I stood paralyzed. "Face it!" the woman shouted, her voice piercing through the chaos. "Only then will you understand." I shook my head, fear washing over me like a cold tide. "I can't. I don't know how." Just then, the earth before me split open, revealing a swirling darkness below. I stumbled back, heart racing with panic. I had to make a choice. Then everything went dark. With a gasp, I found myself standing alone at the edge of the bridge. The woman vanished, and the forest eerily silent once more. I felt a new sensation, a pressing urgency, like something was calling to me from the darkness. That's when I saw it. A flicker of light in the distance, just beyond the edge of the trees. It pulsed gently, beckoning me to approach. With my heart pounding and uncertainty swirling within me, I took a step toward the light, feeling the weight of the forest's secrets heavy on my shoulders. What awaited me at the heart of the woods? As I moved closer to the light, I could feel the faint warmth radiating from it. My steps quickened, driven by a mixture of fear and curiosity. I pushed through the underbrush, branches scratching at my arms, but I barely noticed. All I could think about was the glow guiding me deeper into the woods. The light grew brighter, illuminating a small clearing. The scene took my breath away. At the center stood a large tree, its trunk wide and gnarled, glowing with an ethereal blue light. Strange symbols wrapped around its bark like vines, pulsing rhythmically. I had never seen anything like it. "Who dares to come so close?" a voice boomed, breaking the silence like thunder. I jumped, spinning around to find the source. A tall figure emerged from the shadows. He looked like he was carved from wood, with bark-like skin and deep-set, wise eyes that held the weight of centuries. There was something regal about him, yet intimidating. I'm looking for the keeper, I stammered, disbelief mingling with awe. Many seek him, the figure replied, his voice deep and echoing. But few understand that the keeper is not merely a person. He is the essence of this place. I swallowed, trying to process his words. What does that mean? The figure gestured toward the tree. This is the heart of the woods. It is part of the keeper, and it sees everything. The keeper reveals himself only to those who confront their truth. A chill ran down my spine. What truth? Yours. His gaze pierced through me. Fear clings to your heart like a shadow. If you wish to find the keeper, you must let it go. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. I wanted to scream out that I didn't know how to face my fear. Yet something deep within me whispered for me to press on. What if I can't? I asked, my voice almost breaking. The keeper offers guidance. But you must take the first step, he said, nodding toward the illuminated tree. I glanced back at the glowing symbols. Their light stirred something within me, an instinct, a call to action. My heart raced as I approached the tree, brushing my fingers against the warm bark. As soon as I touched it, a surge of energy shot through me. Visions flooded my mind, memories I had buried deep, moments of failure, heartbreak, and darkness. I gasped, feeling vulnerable and exposed. Was this the fear the figure had spoken of? Embrace it, the figure urged. Only through acceptance can you move forward. I felt tears prick my eyes. I realized then that running from my history was only consuming me from the inside. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, reliving those moments, not to drown in them, but to find the lessons hidden within. Suddenly the tree shook, its glow intensifying. The symbols spiraled wildly, and the ground beneath me vibrated. I stumbled backward, and the figure held his ground, eyes unwavering. "Face what is coming," he thundered, the forest humming with energy. I opened my eyes, my heart racing. The shadows of the forest began to swirl again, and I felt a new presence intrude. The darkness I had faced before was returning, but this time I would not back away so easily. Then I heard her voice again, the woman from before echoing within the storm of shadows. "Face it. Only then will you understand." What was I about to confront? I braced myself, adrenaline spiking. I was ready for whatever challenge awaited me. The keeper was near, and I could feel it in my bones. I just wasn't sure if I was strong enough to claim it. I stood my ground as the shadows danced around me, swirling and flickering like wisps of smoke. The figure, still rooted by the tree, watched me with a blend of expectation and solemnity. Sweat trickled down my back, but I held my breath, willing myself to face whatever was coming. Suddenly, the swirling shadows coalesced into a shape. It was a figure, a woman, her features obscured. But there was something familiar about her. The swirling mist surrounded her like a shroud, and I could barely make out her expression. I felt a pull toward her, a magnetic force drawing me closer. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. "I am your fear, your doubt," she said, her voice hauntingly soft. "I am everything you've tried to escape." I closed my eyes for a moment, trying to push the panic away. Was she what the keeper had meant? In that instant, I understood I couldn't run anymore. "Why do you haunt me?" I demanded, opening my eyes to meet hers. "What do you want?" She stepped forward, the mist parting around her. "I want you to see me, to acknowledge the pain you've carried. Only then can you break free." Her words wrapped around my heart like chains, heavy and unyielding. "Why should I? You're just a shadow." My voice shook, frustration and fear mingling. "I am part of you," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper now. "But I am not your whole. There's more to your story, hidden beneath the pain. You must confront it to find your path." My mind raced. She was right. I had spent so long pretending the past didn't affect me, pushing away those memories that weighed heavily. I felt the truth of her words settle in my chest. Perhaps I could no longer deny my own history. Taking a step forward, I faced her. If you are a part of me, then show me what I need to know. In that moment, the mist around her began to dissipate, and she smiled, a knowing, gentle smile. Just then, the ground beneath me trembled again, and the glowing tree surged with power, illuminating the entire clearing in a brilliant blue light. The pulsating symbols on the tree brightened, and I saw shadows swirling into forms, distant echoes of my past. Memories of my loved ones, moments of joy and lost happiness rushed forward like a tide. My heart thumped in my chest, but something began to shift within me. The woman stepped aside, allowing the images to unfold before me. Each silhouette spoke to me, a piece of my past revealing itself and beckoning for acknowledgement. My childhood, my dreams, my failures, all tangled together. I could hear their whispers, urging me to come closer, to hold on to the good and learn from the bad. Suddenly the ground shook more violently, and the tree groaned as if it were alive. "Now, embrace it all!" the figure from earlier shouted over the chaos. I closed my eyes and focused. I remembered the joy of a family picnic, the pain of a lost friendship, and the warmth of love. I took a deep breath. I let my fear rise within me and embraced it. "I'm ready," I shouted, feeling a surge of power blast through me. Then everything went dark. My heart dropped. Where was everyone? Where was the tree? Panic gripped me, but I stood firm. I couldn't let fear undo what I had just accepted. The shadows pulled at me again, but this time I stood my ground, determined to find the light once more. What awaited me in the darkness? I had to discover the truth, and the keeper was still out there waiting for me. I stumbled forward, disoriented in the void. The darkness felt thick, almost suffocating, but I forced myself to breathe. I needed to keep moving. Forcing my eyes open, I squinted into the gloom, trying to make out any shapes or forms. Nothing. Just an endless blackness that seemed to stretch on forever. Then I heard it. A whisper, soft and faint, but clear enough to send chills down my spine. "You have to find it," it said, echoing around me. I turned in circles, trying to locate the source. The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. "Find what?" I called out, my voice shaking. "Who's there?" The response was silence. My pulse quickened. I felt alone, adrift in nothingness, my thoughts spinning. I tried to focus on the woman, but she was gone. I thought about her words. I had accepted my fear, but now what? Where was that glowing tree, the swirling symbols? Was I losing whatever ground I had gained? Suddenly a faint light flickered in the distance, a soft glow, shimmering and inviting. I hesitated, uncertainty creeping back in. But then I remembered the weight of the past I had carried and the promise that there was more waiting for me. I took a deep breath and began walking towards the light. As I got closer, shapes began to form. Trees, more like the ones in my memories, lined a narrow path leading to a clearing. The whispers returned, this time growing louder, mingling with sounds of the forest, the rustle of leaves, the chirp of crickets. My heart raced faster, not from fear this time, but from a strange mix of excitement and trepidation. I stepped into the clearing, and there it was, a tree, not the same glowing one from before, but this one shimmered with a cool blue hue. The light radiated from it like a pulse, steady and calming. This tree felt alive, almost sentient. I approached it cautiously, feeling the warmth emanate from its bark. Just then, I noticed something at the base of the tree, a small, intricately carved box half buried in the dirt. My stomach tightened. Was this what the voice meant? I knelt down and brushed off the dirt. The box looked ancient, the carvings depicting scenes I couldn't quite decipher. A sense of urgency hit me. I reached for the lid, my heart pounding. I half expected something to leap out, but when I lifted it, I found it empty. Disappointment washed over me, but then I noticed a scrap of parchment tucked inside the compartment. It wasn't just paper. It felt significant, as if it held answers. I slowly pulled it out, my fingers trembling. The edges were frayed, but scribbled on it were words that sent electricity through me. The Keeper knows more than he shows. I froze. The Keeper. I suddenly realized the implications of that phrase. How much did he hide from me? Before I could gather my thoughts, a rustling caught my attention from behind. I turned, my heart racing anew. Someone, or something, was approaching, shrouded in shadows that crept back into the clearing like a fog rolling in. I had to decide quickly. Stay and confront whatever that presence was, or flee with the knowledge I had just uncovered. But there was no time to think. I could feel the weight of the past in the air, and I knew that whatever came next would change everything. "Show yourself," I shouted, my voice echoing in the clearing. As the shadows shifted, I braced myself for whatever revelation was about to come. I squinted into the darkness, still clutching the scrap of parchment. The rustling grew louder, and I could see a figure emerging, not from the shadows, but from the thick fog that enveloped the clearing. My heart raced, a wild drumbeat in my chest. The outline took form. A tall man, draped in a cloak that looked like it was woven from the very shadows surrounding us. His face was obscured, but his presence felt undeniably powerful. I couldn't shake the feeling that he was linked to the Keeper, the one who held the answers I sought. "Who are you?" I demanded, my voice steadier now despite the dread pooling in my stomach. The whispers around us softened, as if the forest itself was holding its breath. "I am the Warden," he said, his voice low and smooth, reverberating like a distant thunder. I felt a shiver trace my spine. "And you've come seeking truths that are not meant for your eyes." I took a step back. "What truths? Is it about the Keeper?" A chuckle escaped him. "Ah, the Keeper. Clever in his own way. He bends the rules but never breaks them." "What does that mean?" I asked, frustration mounting. I was tired of riddles. I needed real answers. "The knowledge you carry," he said, "is like a weapon. It can protect or destroy depending on who wields it." I frowned, trying to make sense of his words. My thoughts raced to the parchment, the clues that felt just out of reach. "Why am I here?" I pushed, desperate to understand my purpose in all of this. "You are here to make a choice," the Warden replied, stepping closer. His cloak swirled around him like a living thing. "You may continue down this path of discovery, or you can return to the life you once knew. But know this, the forest remembers. If you turn back, it may not let you leave." I felt trapped between two worlds. The thought of going back felt suffocating, yet pressing further into the unknown brought an avalanche of fear. "What do I have to do?" I whispered. "Find the Keeper," he instructed, raising a finger to point towards the tree. "He is closer than you think. Open your heart to the truth and you will find him." Before I could respond, he vanished into the fog, leaving only the chill in the air behind him. I stood there, the words echoing in my mind. I glanced back at the tree, and my gaze fell to the ground once more. The carved box beckoned to me like an unsolved puzzle. I knelt down again, the parchment freshly gripped in my hands. Was there something more? I looked for clues in the carvings, tracing my fingers over each line, each symbol. That's when I saw it. A small indentation at the box's side, barely visible against the intricate designs. I pressed down, and with a soft click, the box trembled. I found my breath catching. The ground beneath me pulsed as the tree's light intensified, flooding the clearing in a brilliant blue. The air crackled around me, and energy surged through my veins. And then, a shadow loomed above, Something was coming, darker than before, a threat I hadn't anticipated. I had to make my decision. Would I step forward into the light, or would I succumb to the encroaching darkness? As the air thickened, my heart raced again, and I braced for whatever came next. The moment froze. I could feel the darkness pressing in, its weight suffocating. I hesitated, my instincts battling my curiosity. The tremors in the ground intensified, vibrating through my knees as I gripped the parchment tightly. Maybe stepping into the light was the right choice. The warden's words echoed in my mind, urging me forward. I could feel the warmth radiating from the glowing tree, its energy promising clarity, answers. I could find the keeper as I took a step toward the blue light. The shadow above deepened, casting an eerie silhouette across the clearing. I looked up, my breath hitching as I spotted a hulking creature, its form indistinct but menacing. It was larger than any animal I'd ever seen, and the glint of its eyes felt predatory. Panic surged within me. I was no longer the seeker of knowledge. I was now prey, but I could feel the pull of the light. It called to something deep inside me. I dared another step forward, and the buzz of energy swirled around, wrapping me in its embrace. The creature let out a low growl, reverberating through the silence as if it were a warning. My instincts screamed at me to turn and run, but then I noticed something. The creature's eyes shifted as if it were assessing me. The light from the tree flickered and the shadow seemed to falter. I took a steadying breath, gathering my courage. "Stay back," I cried, my voice stronger than I felt. I raised the parchment in front of me like a shield, hoping that whatever knowledge it contained would provide me some strength. In response, the shadow creature reared back, hissing softly, as if my words meant something. The air thickened again, and I could feel a shift. The fear in my chest began to transform, turning into a bizarre sense of connection. "Are you guarding the keeper?" I asked, surprised at my own boldness. I took another hesitant step toward the light, not removing my gaze from the creature. With each movement it became clearer that it wasn't a typical predator. It felt more like a guardian. As I steadied myself, the blue light surged brighter, illuminating symbols on the ground that I hadn't noticed before. They danced in the hues of twilight, weaving a story beneath my feet. I knelt down, drawn in by the patterns that connected directly to the carved box. Every instinct screamed at me to leave this place, yet I couldn't tear myself away. Almost instinctively, I reached out a hand to touch the markings. In that instant, a blast of radiant energy enveloped me, connecting the dots between the box, the tree, and this creature. And then I heard a voice, a whisper that seemed to come from the light itself. "Seek the truth of the keeper. Only then will both you and the guardian find peace." Everything amplified. This was no longer a choice between light and darkness. It was an awakening. Fear gave way to purpose, and with it, I understood my next move. I had to unlock the knowledge hidden within me. But how? That question lingered, heavy and unyielding, as the guardian let out a low, resonant growl that echoed my resolve. With determination sparking in my heart, I realized what I needed to do. The markings, the box, everything began to converge in a single thought. But just as I was ready to act, the ground shook violently. The world around me flickered once, a flicker of darkness washing over the light. Something was indeed coming, and it was now only moments away. The ground trembled and the clearing erupted in chaos as shadows expanded, swallowing the light from the radiant tree. My heart raced as I stood between the light and the looming darkness. Panic surged through me, but the guardian, now fully revealed and imposing, remained at my side. It positioned itself between me and the encroaching void, its growl reverberating through the air like a warning. "Stand firm," I urged myself, desperately clinging to the parchment and its promise of knowledge. The symbols at my feet pulsed in rhythm with my racing pulse. They seemed to beckon me closer, their stories intertwining with the very roots of the earth. I needed to understand, to release the potential that lay dormant inside me. "Keeper," I shouted, uncertainty lacing my voice. "I seek you. Show me the truth." The words echoed, swallowed by the swirling darkness. For a moment, the shadows paused, their advance halted, as if my plea resonated beyond the veil. The Guardian shifted, its keen eyes glinting in the dim light. Together, we stood ready for whatever would come. I stepped forward, my determination ignited by instinct. The darkness writhed, almost recoiling at my presence. "What is this place?" I called out again, channeling my energy into the rhythm of the light around me. "What must I do?" The air thrummed, and the symbols began to shimmer brighter, illuminating the clearing as waves of light pulsed from the heart of the woods. The shadows hissed. A cacophony of lost whispers and anguished voices surged through me, blending into an overwhelming tide. Then everything shifted. Suddenly the Guardian lunged forward, almost instinctively, and with one swift motion it confronted the mass of shadows. I watched in awe as it charged into the darkness, its form becoming a blur. "Protect me," I whispered, feeling the gravity of the moment sink deep. The energy of the tree surged within me, as if acknowledging my plea. And in that moment, I finally understood. I was not just a seeker. I was a participant in this sacred dance between light and dark. Taking a deep breath, I turned back to the tree and the markings beneath my feet. Reciting the words in my mind, I pressed my hands against the ground. The symbols flared to life, and the forest responded. Roots unfurling, branches twisting, and the keeper of secrets revealing itself through a soft, resonating pulse. Suddenly the darkness shrieked, an agonized sound that echoed through the grove. I squeezed my eyes shut, the intensity of the moment flooding my senses. And then, a crack. "Face what you've been avoiding." The words boomed, coming from within the very heart of the woods. It encapsulated all my fears, but also instilled a sense of certainty, a promise of protection and refuge. Opening my eyes, I felt empowered. "I accept," I declared, my voice fierce. I accepted my fears, my doubts, everything that had held me back. With that acceptance came a wave of energy that resonated through my body, a connection with the ancient truths hidden in these woods. The tree began to glow brighter, cascading radiant light across the clearing. The shadows shrieked again, but this time their sound morphed into something different, a collective release, like a tether snapping. The air lifted, and the swirling darkness began to recede. The figures within it, disassembling like paper caught in an updraft. The Guardian pressed against my side, its presence reinforcing my resolve. Together we pushed against the remnants of darkness while the tree erupted with radiant energy, a brilliant display illuminating the entire grove. The shadows dissipated, leaving nothing but the rustle of branches and the whispers of the forest. As calm returned around us, I dropped to my knees, breathing in the cool, fresh air that filled the clearing. The shadows were gone, but traces of their weight lingered. I turned to the tree, shimmering beautifully, its symbols still glowing faintly in the twilight. "Your light is the keeper," I whispered, realizing it was more than guidance. It was a part of me, of all who sought to find clarity amidst chaos. The keeper was the truth I needed to face. As I stood up, a gentle breeze swept through, rustling the leaves and carrying a sense of peace throughout the grove. I felt lighter, but questions hung in the air like freshly fallen petals. What would become of me now? Who had been lost among those shadows? And would my journey ever truly be over? With one last look at the tree, I clasped the parchment tightly. I didn't have to bear all these questions alone. There was a world outside these forests, filled with the people I loved, and those I may have yet to meet. The darkness of the woods had changed me, but so had their light. The truth I knew now was a path, a winding journey filled with uncertainty. Yet the forest would always be a part of me, a keeper of my secrets, memories, fears, and aspirations. I guess I'll keep searching, I murmured to myself as I stepped away from the clearing, the path behind me fading like a dream. Maybe life outside the forest was still unknown, but I was no longer afraid of the shadows lurking within me. I moved forward, toward the place that awaited, illuminated by the lessons hidden within the heart of the woods.